It's time to play around with what some people consider the scariest tool there is. And by some people, I mean some professionals will avoid using the pen tool. Let's just dive in fearlessly and explore, and we'll start with as simple as it gets by just creating shapes. And we'll use the defaults to start with, but the one thing I want to check on is snapping. So let's click on this little pull down arrow and make sure snap to full pixels is off. We don't have any guidelines. We don't have any grid. I have no idea what snap to pages means. And we'll learn as we explore this. But for right now, we could show the grid, and there will be a reason to do this. But for right now, just make sure snap to full pixels is off. And then we're going to roll over the pen tool. When you roll over these tools, you get this little quick video that shows you something about what's going on. Okay, so that was drawn with what appeared to be a gradient. Is that what it was? Let's look. Yeah, that's not a solid color. That's a gradient. So they're going to show you a couple things. Right now, I want you to notice in the upper right-hand corner is a little gray P. P is the pen tool shortcut. This selection tool, when you roll over it, you see a little V in that upper right-hand corner. That means V. So V is the selection tool. P is the pen tool. Cool. Okay, so the pen tool, when you click, don't click and drag, just click. It makes a point. And then you can click, and these are paths. These are individual paths, and we're just going to click and click. And I want you to do this too. Go ahead and pause the video when I get back here. Watch when I come up and approach that last point. See how it colors in? That says I'm going to close the path. See, if I miss, it doesn't do it. If I come over it, you get that highlighted color, which means the path is now closed and you have created a beautiful star. So go ahead and see how clunky this looks? Don't worry about the shape. Go ahead and make your own star. Pause this video, make your own star. And then after you've done this, then we'll proceed. So with the selection tool, and I'm going to hit the letter V, I want you to get used to that. And the reason this was selected was because there was something highlighted there. If we have the selection tool and nothing's highlighted, if we roll over this, notice how the lines light up when I'm in the center? That's because this has a fill. But you can't tell it has a fill because the fill is the same color as the background. Here's the fill color. See where it says fills right here? This is the fill. I'm going to click on that, and let's just change it to be something else, something other than white, so we can see what we're doing. Now, what about that stroke? See that black line around this? What if we don't want a stroke? Or what if we want a thicker stroke? Well, when we select this once again, notice it says borders here, okay? In Illustrator, these are strokes, so borders. And if we click inside, this has a number. By default, it appears to be 1. But if I click in here, and notice that arrow, it goes up and down. So can you see that if we zoom in? There's a double-headed arrow there. And as I go up, the stroke goes up. If I go down, the stroke goes down all the way to 0. Up, bigger, down, smaller. And smaller as in disappearing at the end. So now, if I click away, now you can see we just have a shape. That's color. So now we can see this and move it around. What if we wanted to fine-tune this? Why couldn't we have drawn it better? Well, you don't have to worry about drawing it better because underneath the selection tool is, the pointer tool. We're going to have different names than I'm used to. Underneath this, if we click on this pull-down arrow, is the sub-select. Now, in Illustrator, this is the selection tool and the direct select. Look at the shortcut, D for direct select. Okay, so don't let me, I'll call these black and white arrows. Okay, that'll be the easy way because otherwise I'm going to get the names totally confused. So the subselect is D. So I'm going to click away and I click and I've got this selected. And you see how it's selected. It selects this big shape. Now if I change this to D by clicking while it's still selected, look at how it changed. And now we have these little hollow points. These are anchor points. And what happens if we click on one? It becomes selected. And then we can move it. And we can sit here and say, I want a little skinny star, and I want it to have some personality and be kind of happy. So how do I make a little skinny star that has personality and looks a little better? Oh, and it's still clunky. Oh, well, we can click and pull these things in. So I want you to go ahead and make this star. Not exactly like mine. I want you to make your own. And then draw some other shapes. Experiment. These are the initial steps in creating with a combination of your black and white arrows and the pen tool and the fill and stroke. Right? And yeah, kooky little star. Make some things. Closed, this is a closed path because it's one single shape. If I hit V, then I get the selection tool. It is a shape. We can also make lines with the pen tool. We'll talk about that later because there's other ways to draw lines, and we'll just play with these shapes for now. Make some shapes. Experiment. Use the white arrow, D, in order to modify what you're doing. And you may be wondering, can I select more than one point at once? Well, the answer is absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so play around with this. See what happens.